The M24 is back from Classic Army, but things are not always as they appear, and we're going to find out in this episode of Airsoftology Reviews. So that's right, if you guys have been in airsoft sniping for any amount of time, it has to be more than a few years, you guys remember the Classic Army M24. Very common sniper rifle, very popular, and a more cost-effective version versus your Tokyo Marui Vsr-10s and options like that. Well, flash forward to 2016, early 2017, which it is right now, and we're looking at the M24 LTR, and I'm gonna tell you, a lot has changed in a few years. So when I say a lot's changed, a lot's changed. So we're gonna talk externally on this thing. I'm gonna kind of run over what's going on here. Then we're gonna talk about what's inside because there's not much the same as the old one. So the first big news here, and I'm gonna hit this up even though it should be in internals, is almost perfect Vsr-10 compatibility. So yes, that's right. We're gonna talk about all the parts and maybe the few that you might need to do a little bit of work if you wanna go do some crazy upgrades. But let's dive into the externals first because that's what really matters here. And we're gonna start with the big long barrel. It's a bull style barrel, meaning it doesn't really taper that much. On the end, you do have threading internally here. Now it does have an orange tip. If you live somewhere, you can take it off. You can pop it off like I did mine. And you do have the internal thread. So all the old Classic Army accessories, including the thread adapter here, will work. So you can put it on there and then put your can on if you guys want to go for that look. Also with this too, the big difference with this body versus the previous version, the old one was darn near, or actually right at 8 pounds. It was not a light sniper rifle by any stretch of the imagination. 8 pounds, then you add a scope and all the other good stuff to go with it, and you're 10, 11, 12 pounds humping this thing around. That is pretty big for a sniper role, which should be pretty mobile. Well, they have done a lot of work and shaved a ton of weight off this. In fact, they've dropped a little over 3 pounds off this rifle to get it way down, I think even under that 5 pound mark. So now you have a very lightweight rifle. It is balanced end to end, so it doesn't have like rear balance or that. In fact, if you kind of look right here, I'm holding it right between like kind of where the front scope mount ends, and that's your balance point. So it does have a nice balance to it. So it's not gonna be too front heavy, not too back heavy, still easy to maneuver around on the battlefield. So now that we talked about the aluminum barrel, the new lightweight stock, but don't think because they went lightweight, it's gonna be cheap and break and all that. It's still very well made, good texture on it. You do have swivel sling attachment points here on the front and the rear. The rear one actually rotates all the way around as well as the front, which is nice. You won't bind up your actual sling. A lot of sniper rifles have the post where it'll actually rock, but it won't actually turn because they also act as screws. This one, they will swivel, so it makes it a nice, neat little touch. Moving on down, you do have a pop-up adjustment bar here on the left-hand side. It is nice silver, easy to notice, and you can actually get to it, slide it all the way forward, slide way back. We're gonna talk about the hop-up in the performance section toward the end of this video, but it is easy to get to. It's right there where your thumb would belong. And again, we did mention that scope mount. It does have a standard scope mount, so you do have it cut out here for the actual bolt area. You have 2 positions here in the front and 2 in the back. Perfect to put on any optic you want. I mean, they're gonna lock on here, no problem. And 4 screw attachment points, so that thing is really gonna stay in there. It's not gonna wobble out if you lose a single screw. Moving on back, hardened components here. Bolt is actually steel, black, all that. Fire, the actual safe and fire switch here, so your safety is right there. Nice, big, good click. It actually clicks pretty darn well from position to position. You can kind of feel it hop over the hump into the next one. Again, it's Vsr-10, so if you guys are used to like a Marui Vsr-10 or any other compatible rifle, it's gonna feel right at home for you. Moving to the back, butt pad is a very hard rubber. Almost feels like hard plastic, but it is rubber. No texture on it, it's nice and smooth. So if you're looking for some texture, you may want to maybe do a little modding or upgrading on it. Again, we're talking airsoft gun here, so we're not talking like you're gonna need that so the rifle doesn't slip off your shoulder due to recoil, because let's face it, there's no recoil in an airsoft sniper rifle. And rounding out those externals, we're gonna go work on the belly of the beast here. You do have a bipod attachment point or another swivel point here if you want. On the bottom, you do have your 3 screws to hold the barrel assembly in, Allen keys in the front, middle, and back, and the magazine here. Now the magazine itself is a 25 rounder, and it comes out the normal way. You pull the latch, then you kind of gotta pull it out. These are your standard 25 round mags. They're affordable. You can pick them up just about anywhere to fit in there, and they do sit flush in there. What's also interesting is they do give you the button and the ability to open the hatch on where on the real one the magazine would go or the rounds would go, and there you'll be able to actually see some of the trigger box itself. So internally on this rifle, like I said, everything is going to be Vsr-10 compatible with one slight exception, and we're going to hit that toward the end of this section. So first off, barrel, bucking, all those things right out of the gate, good to go. That includes the other internals too. So your piston, your cylinder, everything in there is also that way. What I also like too is, thank goodness they did this, 3 metal pins on the cylinder here to put it in place. A lot of times they skimp and they crimp them on like the more affordable sniper rifles, which is actually around the price point you'd find this one at, but they're actually using 3 pins to set the back of this on. What that means for you is reinforcement and upgradability, and that is the name of the game, because this thing is actually shooting pretty darn good out of the box, but even with the stock components, has the potential to take it higher. And that was where we get to the trigger and trigger assembly. So those components are hardened steel. So when you actually get the box open, you look at the actual components, for example, the spring guide retention post, the rod itself, the bar, and then also the actual sear, which by the way is a 90-degree sear in this one, not a 45-degree. So you actually have that upgraded 90-degree sear. Adds a little more drag on the trigger, but it gives you that durability and the ability for really high-end upgrades on this. In fact, these internal components are so good, I would dare to say you could probably, with some really good durability, put a 150 in here if I had to guess. Definitely a 140, if not a 150 spring. So that can get you up into the 500s very easily if that's what your field allows, which is super impressive considering the price point. Usually I mention the price at the very end. I'm going to talk about it right here because we're talking about the way it's built. We're looking at $129 US, right? And that may vary depending on other countries where you are, but $130 US is a really good deal for a sniper rifle that is shooting pretty darn good out of the box. All right, taking this thing outside of the chrono and of course the tests, shoots right around, at least our sample did, around that 440-ish mark, which is really good for a stock sniper rifle. I've always find it disappointing when you get a stock sniper rifle and you're shooting like 350 and immediately you have to go upgrade it. I'm really glad they took this thing up to that level. The other news, like I said, you can always upgrade it, no problem. So if you want to get in the sniper game, you don't have a lot of money to spend, and you want a great base gun that's like 98% Marui compatible, with the exception of where those 2 screw holes match up in the trigger box, which again, you're going to be doing some hardcore modding if you're going to that level. Definitely take a look at Classic Army's brand new M24 LTR version for 2016-2017. And like I said before, you can pick this up for right around $130 US anywhere Classic Army products are sold. And if you guys want to learn more, as always, I have a link in the description below so you can check it out.